Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Fluently Forward. Today, I am joined by a friend of mine here in Denver, Eric. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to have Eric on. If you guys are Patreon members, you're going to be hearing a little bit more of Eric as kind of my pseudo co-host for the next couple of months, which is going to be very fun. If you're watching over on YouTube, we are dressed in official NASA spacesuits from this.
It's true.
Yeah, it's a website called Amazon.com that I think the government uses. So that's where we got these spacesuits because we're talking about if aliens are in the ocean. So if you're on TikTok or social media, you might have been hearing all of these rumors, or perhaps if you listened to an episode of mine from a year and a half ago, that aliens are in the water. Have you been hearing about this, or am I?
I honestly haven't, so I'm excited to hear all about it and kind of a fresh perspective on it because I really don't know anything about that. So would love to hear it.
So basically, if all these kids on TikTok have been making these videos being like, it's confirmed by the US government and Congress that aliens are in fact in the water. And these videos have been gathering like millions and millions of views. And of course, everyone believes it because of TikTok. Mm-hmm. Well, I was perked up because about a year and a half ago, I did this episode with Jenny from Red Room, which I'm going to resurface on the feed for anyone who wants to like re-listen to it tomorrow. And it was all about ocean conspiracy theories. And the big thing back then was that UFOs are not UFOs, unidentified flying objects. A lot of them are USOs, unidentified submerged objects.
Ooh, okay.
And now they call it something else entirely. It's UAPs, which is like an unidentified aerial
phenomenon,
yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
Which is so like the one thing we had is that like everyone knew what a UFO was and it sounded cool, and they were like, nope, UAP. It's like when you changed it from STD to STI, and it's like the original one was so much better. Just keep it how it was.
Has a good sting to it.
A good little something going on there. So when Jenny came on for that episode, we were basically, the TLDR, but you should re-listen to it when I post it. It was basically saying that a lot of the UFO reports are really USO reports. It's been the US that has cited them. It's been Russia that has found a lot of them, and Brazil. Brazil is actually like a real epicenter for UAP or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Sightings.
Interesting.
I think it's because they're, by the water or something like that, but we got all into that. And when it came out again in the news, I went, we got to dive back into it. So there was a Pentagon report on UFOs that happened very recently in the past couple of weeks, and it was provided by the Department of Defense. And what they were talking about were all of these different collections of reports of UAPs. And this was gathered from May 2023 to June 2024. There were over 757 UAP reports. And each time somebody reports a UAP, they're basically saying, I saw something in the sky, don't know what it was. Then it gets transferred to the government. They look into it. Sometimes it's a craft of their own, or sometimes it's legitimately unidentified. And that's when things get a little bit spooky.
Love.
So a lot of things in this report were misidentified balloons, birds, satellites. One of the UAP reports was like Elon Musk's Starlink was doing some sort of thing and people saw it, they thought it was like a UFO, whatever. Now, one might say, perhaps if you are a theorist like us, we already know they're lying because birds aren't real. So,
of course.
Yeah. So
it's not provable.
Yeah. Oh, it wasn't a UFO. It was a bird. Checkmate, bitch. Birds aren't real. So what are you going to really tell us now? The report was basically published after the second major hearing on UAPs, which was held in Congress. And it was this big hearing where leaders were saying, we want more transparency from the Pentagon. Like, you guys know all of this stuff about UAPs. You're not telling us. And first of all, A, you're not telling us. And then also, B, are you spending our tax dollars on UFO research? And if so, we need to be aware of it. Which I do kind of feel like is shouting into the void. Like, isn't there like millions and billions of dollars that go unaccounted for every year?
Yeah, I think probably more than that, but
Trillions?
Yeah, just kind of tossing it into the void there. Yeah, like you said.
A black hole, if you will. So anyway, sometimes like, I don't know, somebody like It's almost like that meme. Have you seen back when Joe Biden, well, actually, he's still president. My God.
Yes, he is.
Forgot about that quickly. But it would be like when he tweeted things and people would always say that Joe Biden tweeting was the vibe of him being like, who the hell is the president? I'd like to have a word with him. And it's like,
old man yells at cloud.
yeah, like thing. My guy, you are. But that's just the thing about the government. Like you need sign off from a million people to do things, whatever. The name of this big situation that happened recently. There were 4 witnesses and they testified, and it was a hearing called Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, exposing the truth.
Ooh.
Very HBO documentary. Yeah. Here are some of the quotes that were given by these 4 witnesses who were testifying. Luis Elizondo, a former Defense Department official and author, he said that the government has been conducting these secret, and I'm just going to call it UFO because like it's going to be fun, secret UFO crash retrieval programs with the purpose of identifying and reverse engineering the UFOs.
Ooh.
This is his quote. Let me be clear. UAP are real. Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installments around the globe. Furthermore, the U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries. I believe we are in the midst of a multi-decade secretive arms race, one funded by misallocated taxpayer dollars and hidden from our elected representatives and oversight bodies.
So that means that either another foreign superpower like China or Russia has technology that we don't know about, or there's part of the government that Congress doesn't know about, that we have technology that we are unaware of, or the third option is maybe aliens. Is that what that person's saying?
My vibe from this quote is that we are in the middle of a Cold War, but it's not a Cold War. It's like a slime war because multiple countries are all fighting each other, and they're secretly, for decades, have been competing in this kind of UFO arms race, which is like unbelievable to think about. Like I have chills from that quote. So it's basically saying like, yes, I mean, granted, this is a witness testifying, but it's saying, yes, the United States has UFO technology. Yes, we have seen some of the crashes. Yes, we are trying to reverse engineer some of the tech from UFOs. And the big cherry on top, so are tons of other countries as well. And they've all been doing it in secret for about over maybe like 20 years or something.
That's kind of awesome. But
isn't it kind of awesome? Like there's one part of me where I'm like, okay, let's get the HBO special moving on this. Like it's going to make some great content. And then the other part of me is like, I think this just brings up a lot of things for conspiracy theorists because it's like, oh, there's no way, you know, when you talk about certain things, right? Like there's no way the earth could be flat. Okay, I'm not, and I don't want to come across as like a believer that it's like, there's no way the earth could be flat because how could everyone keep that secret? And there's no way we didn't land on the moon because how could you get all of those people to keep that secret? And it's like, well, there's the potential now that multiple different governments have been interacting with like retrieving crashed UFOs and operating on them. And we'll get to something even spookier. And we're not even really hearing about it until now. So vast conspiracies do happen.
That is very exciting. That is kind of my like how I view conspiracies of like the amount of people that it would need to keep it a secret. Like that is that alone is so impressive to me. Like I love thinking about stuff like that, but the idea of the Russians, the Brazilians, and the Americans all keeping something a secret together sounds I would be thrilled if that is possible, you know? Like that would make me happy.
Finally, we were able to do it. But yeah, it's interesting to think of conspiracies in that sense because it's like, okay, does Bigfoot exist or the Loch Ness Monster? That's just one cryptid. Maybe it's harder to find versus all Jewish people being reptiles that transform. It's like, surely someone would have seen that by now.
By now, right?
Like, please. So here's some more quotes of this. Although much of my government work on the UAP subject still remains classified, excessive secrecy has led to grave misdeeds against loyal civil servants, military personnel, and the public, all to hide the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos. So I think this quote is interesting because a lot of people say, you know, what is an alien? Like, just how intelligent are they? Is it the fact that, like, yeah, we're not alone in the world because there's like sentient microbiomes or bacteria? This is giving the vibe that there's another civilization, you know, perhaps many. So they continue. When Garcia asked the witnesses what they believed UAPs could be, Tim Gallaudet, a retired Rear Admiral of the U.S. Navy and a CEO of Ocean STI Consulting, said, strong evidence that they are non-human, higher intelligence. And something about this is always, we always assume that aliens are like higher intelligence.
Little silver men.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Greys who are really smart. Where do we get that from? Because, like, what if they're dumb and they came here and they crashed? Like, we give so much.
Like when Mars attacked, that movie. Have you seen that one?
No, but I should.
The Tim Burton movie. It's hilarious. Anyway, but
were they dumb aliens?
Really dumb. They're basically just big brains.
They had a bunch of like beefcakes with like
it's
huge
an awesome
gray
old
cocks.
movie. Yeah.
They're like, can't think.
Yeah, like they're all idiots and just killing people with lasers. It was an amazing movie.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that for research. I'll have to watch that. Now, this is interesting too. The Pentagon report, they noted a consistent pattern in reports when describing the UAPs. So if you want to know what these things look like. Now, I have to say, they kind of bullshitted it. They said unidentified lights and round/spherical/orb-shaped objects made up the bulk of cases. And for that, it's so typical, like, government or kind of like academia, anytime you're being official, to be like, well, we can't for certain say what it looked like, but it was round or spherical in nature. And it's like, bitch, give me a description, you know?
Is it moss? Like,
Yeah.
come on. Like, give us something.
I just want like a little something, like, oh, wow, unidentified lights. Of course they're unidentified.
All the nerds.
Yeah, everything's unidentified. But I will say, in the things that I read on the internet, they're prism-like, they're spherical-like, they go up and down really quick. Sometimes they look like a pill, but it almost seems like there's little, I don't know, like little countries or colonies of them, because there are specifically pyramid, pill-shaped, and then the classic UFO where it's like
The saucer.
Yeah, saucer. Sphere that was shrunk down, basically. So out of the UAP reports, 81 came from U.S. military operating areas. And this is something we're going to talk about in the episode, because there were different reports from military air crews from the U.S. saying that pilots were, quote, being trailed or shadowed by UAP. And this is really interesting too. The same witness, he claimed that a fleet operations officer emailed him and others saying, quote, we are having multiple near mid-air collisions, and if we do not resolve it soon, we will have to shut down the exercise. And the email disappeared the next day.
Ooh,
so
that's really spooky.
It's like a big theme that the UAPs are really drawn to military bases, nuclear bases, and all of that. Now, you might be wondering, okay, so this was a hearing all about UAPs. Why in the fuck are so many people making TikToks about how aliens are in the ocean? And that came about because of something that one of my honestly favorite politicians said. I like her morals. I like her policies, her character, her behavior, the way she gives handies at the theater when watching Beetlejuice.
Our Colorado queen, Lauren Boebert.
I'm talking about Lauren Boebert, okay? Colorado rep Lauren Boebert, who, if you don't know her, she obviously is here in Colorado, and she got famous for, she basically, I don't know what came first, the chicken or the boob job, but I think she got a boob job, and then she went with a guy she was dating because she's divorced, right?
Yes, freshly divorced. I think first public date with somebody.
Yes, yeah. Okay. Divorced Republican, like they all are. Family values, shout out. Anyway, and they went to go see Beetlejuice at a public play or something, and she was giving a hand job
and vaping
in
her seat.
Yeah, in her seat. And like, you know, when you're in a seat at the play, everyone's around you. It's not like they were in a box. Like, they were like inches away from someone else, and she's giving him a hand job and vaping, and her new boobs did look incredible.
And apparently there were just like crisp night vision cameras for security in the theater. Mm-hmm. So there's footage of all of this, of course.
Yes, footage of it. And
if she wasn't so horrible in her politics, I would feel kind of bad for her. Like, like freshly divorced, like, go off, queen. Like, you're out on the town, you're in Denver. She used to represent the western slope of Colorado, so like lives near Aspen, or did. But like coming into the city for a show, like, I would normally have respect for that, but
I would have respect for going on a date, vaping in a theater.
Oh yeah, not that part.
Egregious.
And maybe not the handy part, but the boob job and the looking nice, you know?
Although haven't we all wanted to cross something off of our sexual bucket list? You know, maybe she's just
maybe the play was just too raunchy, you know? Like who amongst us doesn't like get aroused from the Beetlejuice the musical?
The classic Republican thing, you know, like, well, was it the play's fault? Were they too provocative? Was it making everyone in the audience horny? I'm not responsible for the sexual acts I do.
Like Beetlejuice, pretty commanding character there.
I haven't seen it, but I know he's crazy. So
I actually saw it in New York randomly with my family, and it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It was great.
Okay,
yeah, we should go.
You're like, and I masturbated.
Yeah, of course, naturally.
So anyway, our Colorado queen, Lauren Boebert, she was at this hearing or panel or whatever the fuck it was, and she had some things to say about whether or not aliens have bases in the depths of Earth's ocean. So maybe I would get along with her. Anyway, she asked the panelists, quote, "Are you familiar with the rumors that have come up to the Hill of a secretive project within the Department of Defense involving the manipulation of human genetics with what is described as non-human genetic material, potentially for the enhancement of human capabilities, hybrids?" So to basically TLDR what she said, she wants to know if aliens and humans are getting it on and making little hybrid babies. Not exactly. She wants to know if like the genetics are being manipulated, but she's basically asking these panelists, are you familiar with these rumors that we are making little hybrids of...
That the aliens be fucking and that they be fucking us?
Yeah, it's more than just a hand job, that they're actually involving human genetics and making different types of hybrids and stuff. And for what it's worth, all four of the witnesses were like, haven't heard that one, Lauren Boebert, which is...
This was in a hearing that she said this?
Yeah, she asked the four witnesses, like, have you also heard these rumors that, like, we're making alien-human hybrids? And they were like, I'm kind of unfamiliar with that one. Then she continued, and she asked if the Navy or other marine forces have reported UAPs around oceanic environments that could not be explained by known technology or natural phenomena. And they did say, which is true, there's been a number of UAP sightings in the ocean. She continues, are there any accounts of UAPs emerging from or submerging into our waters which could indicate a base or a presence between the ocean's surface? Now, obviously, these four witnesses are like, yeah, I don't know if there's like an alien base in the ocean, but there is footage of these UAPs, like these orbs, coming out of the ocean and then being met by another orb. And there's a lot of not studies of this, what would you call it, like eyewitness accounts or footage of these UAPs and these orbs. They go in and out of the ocean. And by the way, extremely quickly, like it's nothing to them. They're in the ocean going fast. And when they come out of the ocean, there is usually a meeting with like another orb. And there was this one, you know, in the episode that I'll repost tomorrow, this one example of off the coast of Brazil where they said like this orb came out of the ocean, another orb came up to it, and then this being went from orb A to orb B and like transferred.
Okay. I would assume that these things would be unmanned if I were to like without besides
like
any
alien
other
drones.
Yes, like I would think that they would want to check us out, you know? Like we send stuff really far away and there's no way we can have people on that, of course, unless you're in a sci-fi movie.
That's a really funny idea though, like a bunch of like people like living on Mars and like we put our rover there and they're like, okay, so just how many humans are in the rover? And it's like, actually none.
Yeah, exactly. So why does Lauren think that the aliens are here and be fucking, you know?
So she said, I think that was kind of about the miss of like her claims, but she was obviously trying to get word out about, and she literally said like, have you heard about these rumors that there's bases in the water? And they were like, no, we haven't. And then it goes to TikTok and everyone's like, the government said that there's like legit alien bases in the water. Now, I think that there's some evidence for it.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about here, but the witnesses themselves didn't say that there are bases in the ocean. Now, this is interesting too. So following the hearing, she, of course, posted on X that she's looking forward to, quote, working with President Trump's incoming administration to get the answers we deserve. And my first instinct was like, that's such an eye roll because like to take on something like what we need in the US, like we need healthcare, God damn it.
Yes.
You know, we need affordable housing. Like we need all of these things. So to be like, I'm going to take on the cool and sexy thing of like, I'm going to get the UFO answers that you guys all need. It's giving like clickbait politician in a
100%.
sense. So,
because inevitably it's going to be military secrets that she's trying to reveal to the public, you
Yeah.
know, like that's all the Department of Defense things. Like it seems like, you know, it's just like you said, it's a clickbait. Like you're not gonna be able to deliver that, but it's exciting, you know. Like,
and clickbait it did, right? Because
Yeah.
like, everyone's talking about it on TikTok, and she's like, "Hell yeah, I gotta go jerk someone off over this." Like, so I did look into it though, and it actually does seem like President Trump does have some sort of interest in this. So back when he signed that 2.3 trillion COVID-19 relief bill, blah, 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 you know, to like get rid of the government shutdown, he tucked this thing inside of the bill, and the bill basically like had to be passed. So he was able to tuck this into it. And it was a provision requiring the Pentagon to investigate the more than 120 sightings from military pilots of UAPs. So they wrote that requirement into the legislation because like it had to be passed. And then that was when, because of that, we did get that report in 2021. So you guys might have remembered like during COVID, everyone's freaking out about COVID. And there was a brief moment on the internet where it was like, wait a minute, are aliens real? And everybody was
totally
like,
remember this. It was great.
yes.
Yeah.
And everybody, half the people were like, this is a great distraction. And then the other half were like, I don't care. I'm just so worried about COVID. So
100%.
it kind of flew under the radar, you know?
Not in my house.
Yeah. Not in this house,
Like,
goddamn.
there's nothing going on. There might be aliens. There's like 100 sightings where
Yeah.
we don't know. It's
And
not us.
The amazing thing too is that so many people believe in aliens, but then the minute the government puts anything out about it, people are like, they're trying to distract us from something different. And it's like, we're just never happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Never satisfied. But this report back in 2021 was pretty amazing. It was mostly all of the UAPs that are flying around, and it was saying that they defy not like physics, but like anything that we or any other country can do. They do loop-de-looping. They change, and this is official, loop-de-looping. They change directions with this nimbleness that nobody with the current technology today could do. None of the objects show exhaust coming out. So there's like no gas or anything like that. They turn with a suddenness that would produce G-forces deadly to any human being who would be on board. And then, like we were talking about, some of them dive into the ocean and then fly straight back out. So that was back in 2021, and it was like, goddamn, it can't be anyone here on Earth.
That's what I remember most about that report, because that means that either the U.S. government has technology that maybe is so secret that the government doesn't know about it, like just a very small section.
It's just Elon Musk.
It's just Elon.
On like 50 milligrams,
Ugh,
you know,
God.
crafting something.
Either we have technology that we're keeping from ourselves and the public, the Russians or another foreign power has technology that we don't know about. That's also terrifying.
Yes.
Or the third thing, which is
Aliens.
maybe aliens.
Aliens, my guy. It's so funny too. I always think like it's either the U.S. technology or Russia or China. But how fun would it be if like New Zealand secretly for the past 50 years,
I hope that they would tell us, like, come on, bestie. Like,
they're like, we're actually going all in on aliens. That's all we're going to do.
and they don't tell us, like, come on.
I know. WTF.
Don't hold out on us.
WTF, mate. And yeah, a pilot told the New York Times, quote, these things would be out there all day. The speeds at which the objects were moving, 12 hours in the air, is 11 hours longer than we'd expect. So just, you know, they're moving quickly. The craziest thing to me is that there's no exhaust coming out of it. And when you get into conspiracy theories, like I love to do, we did this episode over on Patreon all about crystal conspiracy theories, and how people believe that the Atlanteans, who perhaps could be an alien base underwater right now, that they gathered all of their energy through utilizing crystals and like vibrations, and like it provides this unlimited energy and stuff like that, which
That
is
could be dope.
Isn't it so lovely to think about the fact that like instead of fucking up our planet and polluting things, there could be like a beautiful quartz crystal that just like powers an entire neighborhood.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it sounds really nice.
And there's no risk of it blowing up a neighborhood, like a
Yeah.
nuclear power plant or something for
Oh, yeah, 'cause we were talking
decades to
about
come.
Chernobyl.
It was so haunting.
Yeah.
It was really good, terrifying. You should watch it, but
I
really
watched
scary.
a bunch of clips on TikTok, so it's kind of like I saw it. So yeah, so then we just have more, you know, witnesses of these orbs flying out of the ocean. things like that. So there's a few things that I want to kind of get into here that are like alien conspiracy adjacent, inspired from this hearing. And number one is everything they were saying about the UAPs tailing different aircraft carriers and like pilots, and the way that they like are sighted near military operations and like military sites way more than they would be like at a Whole Foods in Burbank. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wanted to look into that a little bit, because basically there's this big theory that, and I think, last podcast on the left, great conspiracy podcast, they talked about this, where the amount of UFOs that were being reported, it spiked in the 1940s up by like fucking 50 times more. Mm-hmm. And the theory there is that like, if aliens are observing us, little humans on Earth, okay, cool, like little humans, oh, let's see what they're doing. And then all of a sudden in the 1940s, we dropped 2 atomic bombs, which I feel like we don't...
40s, it was happening.
Yeah.
In terms of observing humans. We were fucking killing each other in droves.
In like massive amounts. And like, I just still think the 2 atomic bombs, I'm like, the way that was brushed over. So, I mean, like we talked about it in history class, that is so reprehensible. What, like 2 atomic bombs?
We're
like
the only nation to deploy them, and we don't really talk about it in schools. It's pretty shameful.
Yeah.
Like in America, I know that in Japan they also don't really talk about it that much.
Oh,
I think.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't think they talk about that time period as much, and I know that the Germans do a lot.
Yeah.
So like culturally, I think that's interesting too. But
it is.
Yeah.
Well, so people say that the reports of UFOs went up massively, and it was literally right after the atomic bombs were dropped. So people believe, it's almost this theory of like, imagine if, you're at the zoo and you're watching like a bunch of monkeys in the cave, or sorry, like whatever, in their enclosure, and you're like, oh, look at these monkeys, having sex with each other, throwing poop, little monkeys. And then all of a sudden one of the monkeys like creates an iPad and then like sets it on fire. You'd be like, what the, oh fuck, these monkeys, fuck. They
if we were like a TV show for an alien civilization, I'd tune in around World War II, I guess.
So that was the theory, that like us doing that, they were like, oh, they just unlocked a new level of either A, power, B, destruction, C, sociopathy or whatever. Like, is this idea that they were like, okay, we need to monitor them way more now. And it kind of happened then. So not only, there's a working theory that I have, that these aliens are mostly peaceful, because a lot of these sightings, right, disproportionately, they happen over military or secure installments. This was a quote. There's definitely enough data to suggest that there is some sort of relationship between sensitive U.S. military installations and also some of our nuclear equities and some of our Department of Energy sites. It's not a new trend. This has been going on for decades, and that information has been obfuscated. Is that how you say the word? Obfuscated? Unfortunately, from folks like you in this committee, and I think that that's problematic. There have been all of these, and this was before the hearing too. Because I stay fucking glued to these the forums. There are all of these theories as well that basically aliens hang out over like nuclear sites and military sites, and that they turn things off and they disarm what they're doing. So to me, that gives me kind of this working theory that aliens are nice, because think about it. If their crafts are more intense and faster on a level that we could never get to, they could probably already fuck up our shit if they wanted to.
Sure,
the fact that the UFO sightings increased after those atomic bombs were dropped because maybe we're being monitored, and the fact that they are specifically monitoring military and nuclear sites that have a lot of danger within them. So in my butt and in my gut, I just see it as like a peaceful act, because I think they could fuck up our shit if they wanted to.
Probably. That if they can get here and send information back,
yeah,
theoretically to their society, they could probably fuck us up if they needed to.
I mean, even like fly it into, not to like bring up 9/11, but like you could fly, even if all you have is drones, you could cause some damage with the drones,
To me, just hearing you talk about this too, it also kind of would point to, if it is going to be a higher intelligence thing, like it's a very higher intelligence, like we love spying on each other. Like
spying is like the ultimate, like even when you're playing a video game, right? You have like the one person who's like the heavy grunt and they're like beating people with the club, but then you have the person who can steal from people and like gather information and secrets.
Is that why you're the ranger in Baldur's Gate?
Yeah, that's why I'm the ranger.
I just thought of the Chinese spy balloon a couple of years ago. Do you remember that?
Okay, I didn't look into it fully at the time. There was like a huge blimp going, and we thought that it was sent from China to spy on us.
I think it was. I think that's at least that's what the government said, and I think that the Chinese government confirmed that it was theirs.
Stop.
And they
But
were
why
trying
be
to.
so obvious?
I have no idea. It was really funny. I missed the 24-hour, like that week where it was like just 24-hour coverage of the balloon in the sky. And I think they're trying to take pictures of military sites and like
me.
Yeah. And everyone's like, shoot down the fucking balloon. And you, of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. I do wonder how they do all of that stuff. Like there's levels to the government and intelligence. We did this episode over on Patreon of like military weapons that exist, but they don't talk about it. Mm-hmm. And they literally have done the technology to do a vomit gun, like a gun that sends out a ray of nausea. And sometimes some of these items are also used when people protest and stuff because it's certain rays that like make people nauseous or give them a headache and like make people leave an area without like killing them and stuff. It was a pretty crazy episode.
Interesting.
I think when it comes to spying, nobody does it better than the Russians. And I don't know if they're still doing this, but you know, we've dabbled with it too. The idea of a honeypot spy, like I really don't understand how men rule the world when they're also like, remember that guy who was caught? He was like a journalist and he was like jerking off on like a Zoom meeting or something.
Was it a Supreme Court justice or a journalist? Or it's happened more than once.
Yeah. Like the way that every man's Achilles heel is sex. I'm like, why not honeypot spies? Like we need to be using it more. And I think we have in some cases, I hate to say it, but like Jeffrey Epstein, I think some of those videos, you know, were being passed to officials or included officials or things like that. But if I like fuck the balloon, honeypot spy. Did you see that movie with Jennifer Lawrence where she trains to be a honeypot spy?
Oh, I saw the trailer, but I didn't see it.
It was an okay movie, but the concept of it, I just find very, you know, in another life, I'd like to be one.
Yeah, love a good honeypot.
Yeah, love a good honeypot. So anyway, back to the aliens at these Air Force bases. I'm just going to read off some different instances of how UAPs have, in my opinion, been peaceful. So the instances of aliens basically turning things off. So in Montana in 1967, Maelstrom Air Force Base, witnesses reported this glowing red object hovering over a missile silo. And in that event, 10 of the ballistic missiles were allegedly rendered inoperative.
Okay. Scary. Is that our incompetence or is it the intention of the aliens, you think? Because I feel like both are plausible.
Yeah, it was really just like someone made a whoopsie and they were like, quick, say like there was a UFO.
Their Uber Eats came and they just flipped it off real quick.
The missiles go offline. So that was one instance. Then the next year, 1968 in North Dakota at Minot Air Force Base, multiple witnesses, including Air Force personnel, reported UAP activity near a missile site. And then the base's nuclear weapons storage area was reportedly illuminated by an unknown craft, and equipment malfunctions occurred during the sighting. Now, obviously, Chernobyl in Ukraine, 1986, witnesses claim that a UAP was observed over the reactor shortly before the infamous nuclear disaster. Some theorize that the UAP could have been monitoring the situation or it was coincidental. And then at Vandenberg Air Force Base in the 1960s and 1970s in California, there have been a series of UAP sightings that occurred during missile tests, and then witnesses reported objects that appeared to either monitor or interfere with the launches that they were doing. So I view this as like a peaceful thing. Like they don't want us to hurt ourselves or each other. But you could also say, are they in fact really this is so like if this was that movie Avatar or whatever, I'm like one of the people in the forest being like, it's peaceful. And then there would be a military person being like, actually, Shannon, they're turning off our weapons that we could use against them. So then that way we don't have anything to fight back against, which could also be true.
I think you'd be a great Na'vi. But
yeah.
Of saving the trees and the whales or whatever.
The rosacea I get, the blue would really cancel it out, which would be nice. So, I mean, what do you think? Do you think that these UAPs are turning off our weapons to make us weak? Or do you think that they want us to just be more peaceful and not have these weapons?
I think that they'd be very intelligence gathering based, and maybe part of that would be turning them off for a second to see how ready we are to deal with that.
Oh yeah, like testing us to see how we respond.
Like if it's going to be running on like a floppy disk and we have to like unplug and plug it back in, like trying to test how ready we are if things go wrong.
Yeah,
would
so
be my guess.
They can figure things out when the time comes to beat our ass or something. Well, the second thing that I thought was really interesting in, these hearings that were going on is all of this talk of reverse engineering alien craft. And there was this guy in 2023, David Grush. I hope I'm saying it correctly. He's kind of like a legend in like the conspiracy forums, because he is a United States Air Force officer and former intelligence official. And he's like the big kahuna. Like he is the real deal. This isn't some sort of, uncle in the woods who's like, with his tinfoil hat. Like he is legitimate. And he testified.
He's got badges and stars on his uniform.
Yes.
He's
all the way decked out. Like he jingles when he walks into a room. And he said that the U.S. federal government is working in collaboration with private aerospace companies to have this secretive special access programs where they reverse engineer non-human spacecraft and their dead pilots.
Oh, okay.
The dead pilots is what gets me. This is what he said, quote, "Well, naturally, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots. And believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds, it's true."
Maybe privatizing our space, everything, our NASA's, to have SpaceX isn't the best thing.
Right? Like,
just another reason why Elon Musk is not fantastic, but
maybe that's why he's been like so happy lately. Well, for a couple reasons, but like, it's just crazy to me to think that UFOs are crashing. We're doing something with the UFOs. The dead pilots, like that's what gets me excited. Like, what do they look like? Like, God, like, don't you want to know if all 100%. Of the theories of them being like gray, skinny men with the big eyes, like just how true that is. So, he said in a complaint that the Pentagon, other nations, and defense contractors have recovered fragments of exotic origin, non-human intelligence, whether extraterrestrial or unknown origin, based on the vehicle morphologies and material science testing and the possession of unique atomic arrangements and radiological signatures. Now, obviously, like, I know what that means, but in case somebody else doesn't know, I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, but we all know what that means. Yeah.
I speak intelligent, but there was also an interesting thing in here where they're saying, like, it's a non-human intelligence. It could be extraterrestrial or unknown. And that's something I didn't even think about, like, I don't know, like
a non-carbon based life form and what that could
I
possibly
was thinking
look
more
like.
What if it's like mermaids? What if it's angels? What if it's, you know what I mean? Like,
I would think they would be bugs. I think that if it's not going to like look like little silver men, like I feel like a little like ant or some like nasty looking bug thing.
Okay, your intuition may be correct, because when Xander and I went to that UFO conference, which by the way, we recapped it in 2 different episodes over on Patreon, if anyone wants to check that out, very timely right now. There was this session where people were talking about all the different type of like animal alien types that people have witnessed. And a lot of them, I remember this because it scared the shit out of me, said that they almost look like praying mantises.
Ugh.
And I remember being so upset because I was like, damn it. Like, imagine getting visited by an alien and it looks like a praying mantis. I'd be like, now I'm scared times a million. Like, get the fuck away from me. But
bugs are so cool, but they're fucking disgusting.
Yes.
Like, I would be really excited by a like praying mantis pilot, but like I don't want to actually like see it, I don't think.
Yeah.
Like, they're so nasty.
I almost feel like too in the movie Men in Black, they had a lot of like bug alien, like praying mantis.
Yeah. And at that office, I love that movie.
Maybe the government was helping them out with the movie, Ooh, there we go. So I wanted to look too into our history of reverse engineering, because as someone who studied sociology, I was like, I'll be real, I don't like super know what reverse engineering means, but it's something we have a vast history of doing it. So we've done it with military technology. In World War II, the Allies apparently recovered this German V-2 rocket during World War II, and they were able to reverse engineer the design. There was also this type of bomber that the US crashed, and the Soviet Union was able to reverse engineer it and make something similar. We've done this with consumer products. So the Japanese car manufacturers in like the 1950s and 60s, they reverse engineered US and European vehicles to develop their own ones. And apparently this can also be done. I wanted to ask you about this with software and tech. So with smartphone apps, they say that developers can reverse engineer apps to like understand their functionality and create competing or improved versions. Is that true?
Yeah, totally. I mean, with basically reverse engineering would be, in a software sense, getting it under the hood and just like seeing what the code is made of. It probably would be a different kind of thing from a software perspective than a hardware one, because like if you're rebuilding a ship, like you have to like physically put it back together kind of thing.
That's what I was
thinking. And then
thinking
in
too,
software,
yeah.
you basically just like, if you're able to get the code, you just can see what it is, like you get the sauce by getting in there.
Yeah, like you can literally copy paste some stuff.
Yeah, like you literally, like it's on the page kind of thing, versus if you're going to reverse engineer like a space saucer or like with these pilots, dead pilots or whatever, like you have to imagine what it could be, like the writing's on the wall with software, but with like recreating something where we don't even know what it is, like
like that would be like giving the pilgrims like a laptop and being like, try to reverse engineer this. They're like, it's gonna take a minute.
Yeah,
like, right. So yeah, very interesting. So okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about was Lauren Boebert's claim. Boebert,
yes.
Her claim of alien human hybrids. And like we've seen this before in like pop culture, like the Alien franchise, like this idea of something going on. There's also different like fringe theories. Have you ever heard of the term star seeds?
I don't think so, no.
This is like very woo-woo. So like I also love things that are woo-woo, but it's like this new age belief that there are star seeds or star people. And this is for like, if you are someone who just kind of feels like you don't belong and you're just like, man, I've just like never felt, honestly, it's kind of like neurodivergent coded, but it's like, I've never just like felt like the other people. It's giving, I want to be where the people are,
yes,
but I just
sure.
can't be. Then people online say that you could be a star seed or a star person, and you could possess alien DNA. So you're not totally human. And that's why you feel like this isn't your home, or there's a second place that you have to go to. And some people have those feelings and desires. So they call themselves star seeds is kind of my understanding of it. So that's kind of a thing that's out there.
Love giving people spirituality if you from wherever.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you feel different and you think that you're from the stars, hell yeah. Like
I'm not gonna lie, I've taken some of those star seed quizzes before to see which planet I came from. I think I am a human because I didn't get like good results on any of it. They didn't resonate with me. So
I thought of, when you said star person, I think at the end of 2001: A Space Odyssey, that movie, the Star Childs. Did you see that movie?
no.
It's really good. It's like 3 hours long.
Okay,
So
yeah.
like you kind of got to buckle up kind of thing. But at the end, there's a star child looking over planet Earth kind of thing.
Oh, I love that.
It's a great movie. It's, again, I've seen it like once or twice and it's kind of too long, but if you want, we can watch it.
The thing is,
great.
all the space movies are so long. There's never like a space short. Like if they're doing something in space, it's like multiple.
So tying back into another conspiracy theory with the moon landing, 2001: A Space Odyssey was so good and so revolutionary. I think it came out in like 65 or something, 1965. People thought that the director, Stanley Kubrick, faked the moon landing because the movie looked so good and it was in space.
Yeah. Okay, this is all I'll say about the moon landing. Like, I believe we have gone to the moon, but I don't know if the moon landing video is real. And that's...
Ooh, so maybe Stanley Kubrick directed it?
Maybe he did. He also did
would've been
Eyes
the
Wide
guy.
Shut. Like, there's a lot of interesting stuff there. All I will say is that during COVID, I was so bored that I decided to do like deep dives into things to keep my mind occupied. And I watched the entire start to finish moon landing video. I think it's about like 3 hours long.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you watched it from start to finish? Probably
No,
not, because you have a
literally
life.
just the clip of Buzz putting the flag in.
Let me tell you, there's just some weird stuff going on because like I watched that whole thing and it was just giving like diorama, like high school play. Like I do believe we landed on the moon.
Sure,
For sure.
yeah.
There's no way we didn't. But the video, there's just a ton of weird things about the video. Like, I sound like a denier. I'm just a questioner. And then there's also weird things too, where like James Cameron, who's like, you know, obsessed with the ocean and going to the depths of it, he said that he was on the ocean floor, like the very bottom of it, and he was able to send out a tweet. And I'm like, well, then how is it that like my Wi-Fi doesn't work at a Starbucks, but you're tweeting from the bottom of the ocean? So it's just like, does the government have some type of content creator intelligence that like we don't know about? Like,
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Maybe James Cameron was near the internet cables in the ocean.
Yeah.
Just plugged in to the wires down there.
The little Ethernet cord.
Yeah,
Got a little
exactly.
fish to carry it or something. So alien human hybrids, like some people believe it in like a woo-woo sense. There are, of course, like a lot of these stories of people getting visited by aliens or abducted. It usually is sexual, like they wanted my sperm or like they were poking at my genitals. Like there's kind of stuff like that.
Like Kate McKinnon in that SNL skit. Yes.
SNL skit. But like that is, you know, it's a skit because it comes from all of these witnesses of being like, yeah, like they did experiments on me and it was kind of reproductive in nature is what I will say. Now, not to sound like Alex Jones, because like he literally does talk about this, but we have done work in animal human hybrids. So could human alien be next? Now, granted, I feel like when people hear like an alien human hybrid, they're like, oh my God, we're creating like a Pegasus or like a centaur or something. It's not that. Like, we're not creating mythical creatures. It's more of like these hybrids that are created to study diseases or understand genetic interactions or advance different types of like medicine. So there's human mouse, right? Where human cells are implanted into mice to create these humanized mice that can test drugs or study immune responses. There are the crazy human pig and human sheep hybrids, which are done to create organs for transplants. So
I was like, we're walking around with them. A lot of people are.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah,
like,
it's super cool.
So yeah, they say that like these human stem cells are injected into pig or sheep embryos, and then they grow human compatible organs like kidneys or a heart.
Amazing.
Like unreal.
I don't love, like, I feel a little bad with testing on animals, but like if we're talking like if your heart's gonna beat or not, like I think that's so cool.
I also think too they're injected into the embryos, right? So I don't think, I mean, I'm
not a doctor.
I literally know nothing about this. Somebody else will have to look it up, or you know, I'll look it up deeper for another episode. But it's just really cool. To me, it gives the same vibe as like lab grown meat. Like that's incredible.
Yes, I'm so excited about that.
Me too.
Oh my God, 3D print me Kobe steaks the size of pizza boxes.
I mean, I'm with you. I think that all of it's cool. And if it's creating stuff that helps us and hurts no one, like...
Yeah, like amazing.
Everybody wins. Now, we did do a monkey human hybrid type of experiment thing. And apparently this was done in an early 2021. Scientists successfully grew embryos that contained both monkey and human cells in vitro, but then they stopped the development after 20 days because they had ethical concerns.
I probably do too, personally. With monkey boy or monkey girl. That may be a step too far. I also just watched Chimp Crazy, if you've seen that documentary.
It's come up on Hulu. It's like Tiger King, but for monkeys, right?
Yeah, it's the same director. I will say that the exotic animal community needs to be stopped.
Yeah.
This woman is horrible. And like stealing chimps and
I have concerns
just with no qualifications at all.
Yeah, there's a lot. Caitlin, who was here for Halloween.
Yeah.
Her mom has a chimp or monkey or something
really?
like that. Yeah.
Like a chimp or like a little baby?
Sorry, it's not a chimp, right? It's one of those tiny monkeys.
Yeah,
and sometimes it gets out of the house and stuff. And I think she like makes outfits for it and stuff. Caitlin sent me some photos.
I would having just said they need to be stopped. I would love to meet the monkey.
If it's tiny monkey, that's fine. But if it's human monkey boy,
like
I'm scared.
The like chimpanzee stories from that documentary scared the shit out of me.
What do they do? I feel like they're always ripping hair out of someone's skull.
They showed a story in Connecticut in the 90s of a chimp literally ripping this woman's face off.
Jesus.
Like no warning. Like,
how do you rip a face off? Not to like ask about it, but like
this. I mean, I think with its mouth, and the woman lived. She lived, and like went on Oprah after.
Did she get her face back? Like, how do
Not
you...
really, dude. It was really disturbing. You should watch the documentary. I really enjoyed it in a what the fuck is happening kind of way. It was really wild.
Did
And
Oprah like give her something? Like nice?
I hope so. I hope she got a car out of it, like a Kia or something.
Or even just like a really nice like VR headset to like dive into another world.
It was the 90s, bro. Like the woman wore like a funeral veil to cover her face, and Oprah's like, "Can you take the veil off?" It was kind of bad.
Oh my God, did she take it off?
Yeah, it was really bad.
Oh my God.
Oh, this woman was a friend of the owner of the chimp and like knew the chimp. And she brought, I think the chimp was having a rough time and brought like Elmo stuffed animal. And apparently the Elmo was the thing that set it into a rage. Yeah, it was really bad.
Oh my God.
It was wild. You should check it out in a like disturbing curiosity kind of way.
Oh my God. I can't
I couldn't stop watching it.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Wow. That I wonder if Sesame Street like sent her some money to like try and like not say that it was Elmo.
Elmo's image.
Yeah, seriously. Like, oh my God.
Oh, it was so bad, and the police killed the chimp. Like it was like these stories, like where the chimp these predominantly women raise this chimp as their child, and the first 5-6 years are amazing, and like they're very similar to humans, and they like eat people food and they bathe them, and it's like really cute, and then they grow out of adolescence and become these things that are really dangerous to humans and like shouldn't be living in your living room kind of yeah, that's the whole thing is sad. I used to follow
this like Instagram account of this like wildlife sanctuary, I think in Florida maybe, and because this was back when I was vegan and I was like into all like that was like my whole life. And I remember there was this video and like they would get the almond milk in, you know, in bulk from Costco, and the monkey would be the one opening up the package and putting the almond milk away in the fridge. And I was like,
that's wild.
I was like, fuck yeah, monkey in the house. And then stories like that, it's like, fuck no, monkey in the house, right? You know, like, good God.
There's a way to hang out with chimps in, you know, like maybe the zoo or a sanctuary or something.
But now I'm thinking, fuck the alien human hybrid. Let's go alien monkey and see what happens. And then the alien monkey can battle these people. Yeah, sure, you turned off our nukes, but we have alien monkey hybrid to fight you.
That.
Oh my God, pretty wild. Okay, well, the last thing I want to talk about here is something that we had talked about in the previous episode, which once again, I'll be reposting it to the feed for anyone who wants to check it out. But this is just a fun little theory that kind of ties everything in together. Obviously, we've heard that UFOs could be, a lot of them, USOs. They're in the water. They're going in and out of the water. They can do it very quickly. Have you heard of the theory that the ocean is space and space is the ocean?
Maybe in a theoretical sense, where of like we still haven't explored most of the ocean. I would think we'd want to check that out first, personally, but not the swapping. No, I have not heard that theory.
So I think it kind of ties into people who like believe in flat Earth, because like if you believe in flat Earth, people think that basically maybe it's not flat Earth, it's kind of adjacent, but basically people
have these people been on planes?
I'll be honest. Even when I get onto a plane, I feel like my brain hasn't caught up to the technology. Like the fact that I step onto the plane and I walk out and I'm in a different part of the world. Do you ever get that feeling sometimes where you pinch yourself and you're like, but am I? Like, how can I tell for sure that I am in like England right now? And you can tell by everything that you see, but it just feels so surreal to get on a plane and travel somewhere else.
I definitely love traveling and have felt the surrealism, like when I went to Japan a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And like, it felt so different.
Yeah.
I definitely believed I was there, even though I took a sleeping pill on the plane and suddenly I was in Tokyo. But
it's like probably how like dogs feel on an elevator or something, you know? You're like, my God, like the doors closed and then they opened and I'm in a completely new location. Like
right.
It does feel a little funky. But anyway, I don't know if it's flat Earth. I don't know if it's the globe, but there's some people who believe basically, you know how it's like Earth is floating there and there's space? There's some people who believe that actually if you went into the oceans on Earth and you kept going down, 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 you wouldn't get to the depth of the ocean floor. Instead, you would pop out into space, almost like the water is our atmosphere between like planet Earth and space. So they think that the oceans kind of turn into space and space turns into the ocean, which then turns into land. So let me try to walk you through this.
Is it like a wormhole kind of thing?
I don't even know enough about wormholes, but they strike out these similarities, right? Number one, right? We both haven't explored a lot of these things. They're these dark, cold areas that, we haven't really explored. We can't live in it, right? It's this unlivable condition. The creatures outside are alien, but also the creatures in our ocean are kind of alien. There's some we don't even know about or how they operate, and they do it in such different ways. I mean, they're non-human creatures in there. There's different like oil spills sometimes that will light on fire on top of the ocean and it looks like a galaxy. Or if you see a whirlpool in the ocean, that formation of the whirlpool has the same visuals as a galaxy would, with that center.
Oh, sure.
And all of the things like spinning
With
off of
the
it.
gravity in the middle. Yeah.
So spacesuits look like scuba suits. Same with the kind of globe that you put around your head to go into either the ocean or space.
They are both really, really high pressure places.
Yes. Yeah. Astronauts apparently train in water before they go out to space. So that was something interesting. The Bermuda Triangle is kind of this notion of like a black hole in the ocean where things go missing. Same with whirlpools, the idea of like sucking something into it. When you see a comet, it kind of almost looks like a boat on the water with the wake trail behind it, So that's something similar. A spaceship. Why is it called a ship? Because it's the ocean. Space.
Got him.
Ship. You float in space. You also float in the ocean. Anyway, there's all of these like crazy things that people talk about, which I think are kind of interesting. But there's some people who kind of believe that the ocean eventually turns into outer space. And one of the last things we're going to end on here, which is one of my favorite conspiracy theories. What do you think about octopus or octopi?
They are really cool. They're one of the few things that I feel really bad eating.
Yeah.
Because of how smart they are.
Yeah.
But I do still eat them a little bit. But
we've eaten them together.
They're super cool. Yes, we have.
Yeah.
I think they're really cool. And I do know in the Lovecraft of it all that they are very symbolic in the conspiracy world.
Yeah. So, I mean, octopuses actually kind of pop up a lot in conspiracy, right? They were also used a lot in propaganda and everything to like cover different maps with tentacles and stuff. But there are some legitimate people, and, check out the other episode for more on this, but there are some legitimate people who truly believe that octopuses are the descendants of aliens or creatures that came to Earth and are not from Earth, like they came from somewhere else, and they believe that eggs could have come on an icy comet, landed on Earth, and created octopus, basically, because they have this large brain, a very sophisticated nervous system. They have eyes that are almost like cameras, flexible bodies. They can instantly camouflage and just like switch their color and shape to be, that of anything else. And they have all of these like striking features that just suddenly appear on the evolutionary scale. It's not like, oh, we all have these things that the, octopuses have. All of a sudden, boom, there's just octopuses there, and they like outpace everyone in terms of evolution and what they can do. So people think that there could be these like cryopreserved squid or octopus eggs that like several of 100 millions of years ago crashed onto Earth. And that's why octopuses are here, and they're actually aliens in our ocean.
If there is going to be a species that's like that, I would say octopus or some kind of bug.
Yes, they are bug-like in a sense, but you don't think of bugs being wet, like wet bugs.
No. But I'd be like, if there is going to be an alien species here on Earth, octopus or bugs, 100%.
Yes. Yeah, I'm with you. And I got to say, unfortunately, I wish they were a little bit better looking, because in all of the alien erotica I read, they're kind of like
hit a little better.
Yeah, like they're, although I guess, octopuses could,
All the time.
Yeah.
There's a market for that.
I think so. But I mean, we'll have to see. So just to wrap up here, how much of Lauren Boebert's train are you on? Do you think that there's alien bases in the ocean? What do you think we're going to be finding out in the coming years?
Me personally, I don't subscribe to the ocean part as much. I think the stuff in the sky is way more interesting.
And you think they're drones?
That is my theory. If they are going to be alien, like why send anybody all the way out here unless, like what is the benefit of having somebody out here? Like, how are they going to get back to their civilization, if it was a manned ship?
Yeah. An alien.
Yeah, an alien. If it is going to be alien, then yeah, gathering information for sure would make sense to me, either for hopefully not military conquest, but maybe for their science. That could make sense to me. I don't want to think that there's like a foreign government or a hostile foreign government that has technology that we don't have and we don't know about. That's not fun to think about, but that could possibly be it. And then maybe we just have bad cameras is my third option, like of documenting it,
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, nobody's theory is right. And I mean, who knows, maybe in our lifetime we will figure all of this out, because it seems like this stuff is coming out, more and more, much more rapidly. For some reason in my butt and in my gut, I think that they are peaceful. And I think that some of them are living here, either in the oceans, perhaps hollow earth, which is always like a fun little thing to think about. Aphrodite, our favorite celebrity psychic, over on YouTube, he has done a reading on this, and he thinks that the aliens are trying to barter with us because some of them also live here on Earth because maybe for some reason they can't get back home. And we are about to fuck up the planet, and they're like trying everything they can because it's like, hey, this is our home too, and we have to get involved now because you guys are about to reach a tipping point where like you're going to ruin this planet and we live on it too. So like we have to find a way. And I think in a
it's a very hopeful idea,
Well,
like,
I'm going to take it even further with a little bit of optimism that I normally haven't had this past month. But what if too, the idea of aliens, and I'm sure it wouldn't go this way, but it would be really nice if it did, if it got all of, because it is crazy that like we're a bunch of different countries and we all fight and hate each other. And it's like, for what? We're literally all the same human species. It would make more sense to like beef with the lions or something, So this idea to be like, hey, it's actually all of us against the aliens. Maybe it would bring us together. But I also thought COVID would bring us together, and it didn't. So
I thought in some ways it did. And then once people got on planes again, I was proven wrong after COVID.
Yeah.
But I do if there is proven higher intelligence life out there, that it isn't just like growing alien moss or whatever. I like to hope that we could all come together and panic together, and not just like take that chance to go stab someone else in the back or whatever. But
I know.
And hopefully it's not a 3-body problem ending, which I know you have many opinions about.
This will be
that show.
We have to shout out, if you guys haven't watched 3-Body Problem on Netflix, it's done by the creators of Game of Thrones, the original guys, which should have been my first red flag, and someone else too. But it was like 3-Body Problem on Netflix. You might have seen the ads when I was in LA. They had all of the billboards that said like, you are bugs all over it. And it was such a good show. I thought the second half of it kind of stunk, but the first half of it, like, I was hooked to the edge of my seat.
Too. I thought it was so fun.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's like, it's kind of about maybe connecting with aliens or other life forces and how that would look in the real world and stuff like that.
The scientists of the world coming together to try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Definitely, I can see why you had some Act 3 problems with some of the potential romances with the scientists.
Yes. Also, our biggest qualm, and you guys will see if you watch the show, the main scientist was like this 11 out of 10, like, juicy lips, perfect bangs, like
so unrealistically hot.
she was so hot. And I kept being like, obviously I know scientists can be hot, you know.
I have a couple of friends who got PhDs who were slamming as well.
Yeah.
But she was like, it kind of took me out of it a little bit.
She wasn't just a model, she was a Victoria's Secret model.
Yes.
And it was like,
Perfect
you know, I'm like
hair.
trying to like put my biases aside as I'm watching, and I'm like, I just want to see her naked.
Like,
you know?
do we really think that this like 11 out of 10, as you said, started a like nanotechnology company?
I know. So
like
poor...
she should be selling, like she should be on the roadway. Like she could do both probably, but like she's at least been on the roadway. This woman.
She was very hot.
Yeah,
so I mean, at the very least, you got to watch the show to see the hot scientist. So anyway, write in. Let us know what you think about this. Do you think that aliens are in the ocean? Do you think that, I don't know, they're just flying around, peaceful, evil? Let's discuss. Let's debrief. And Eric, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
Yes. And for anyone else who wants to check out the latest Patreon episode we did over on patreon.com/FluentlyForward, it was all about the Father John Misty and Lana Del Rey alleged affair. And in the episode, I basically find out how much I fucking hate Father John Misty. He's like, oh my God, like my least favorite type of person. Anyway, like it was basically me just like doing research. I was like, oh, I like his music. And the more and more quotes from him, I was like, this guy sucks.
Ew.
Yeah. Just one of those types of guys who like did mushrooms and now thinks that like he understands life in a way that nobody else did. And he said that he's had...
People need to stop telling reporters about their ayahuasca trips. Like the OpenAI CEO, Sam Altman, just did the same thing about his ayahuasca retreat in Mexico.
They
and
think they're
how
so special.
It's like, come on. And also, like, you're also kind of, whatever. We can talk, evil gay man. Sam Altman. Like, we're not all special.
Yeah.
We're not all for good.
But the thing is, they always say that they have ego deaths. And it's like, if you really had an ego death, then you wouldn't think that you're so superior. Like, you have like the opposite of an
like,
ego.
who are you to build these data centers that are going to take up as much power as cities so that kids can cheat on their homework a little better?
Yes.
You know, like, whatever.
Yeah. I use ChatGPT.
I do too.
Okay. I had to get that off my chest.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. And we will see you next week for another episode of Fluently Forward. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.